Where do you get Horner's syndrome? Already we are PhD in Horner's. Now, it is not the medial medulla, it is the lateral medulla where the sympathetic chain is passing. Hence, lateral medullary syndrome of Wellenberg, where you come across the Horner's, is what you have to appreciate. So, if you take the cut section, doctor, so as a house surgeon, you make a habit, every stroke patient, only how many cut sections are there? Midbrain, pons, medulla, spinal cord, or at the level of the internal capsule, or in the brain where is the hemorrhage. So put a nice drawing and you guess after the neurological examination possibly where is the lesion. So once you start doing, you will get habituated. Looking at the patient only, if he is having aphasia in a right-handed person, then the left cerebral hemisphere may bleed hai. Left cerebral hemisphere may bleed hai, so where do you expect the hemiplegia? Towards the right side. So if the person is having aphasia, you expect hemiplegia on the right side in a right-handed person, right? So that's how you need to make a habit of guessing the diagnosis. A 60-year-old with complaints of progressive dementia for the past 6 months suddenly develops jitteriness of the whole body and EEG is showing bipolar spikes in the temporal lobes. What is the most likely diagnosis? So doctor, we need to know what are the specific EEG patterns and diagnostic of what. If it is HSV, herpes simplex virus encephalitis, how does it basically present? Typically, if there is a HSV encephalitis, periodic lateralizing epileptic discharges, they are called as PLETs, is what you come across in HSV encephalitis. Now tell me, doctor, how do you recognize a typical patient who is having HSV encephalitis? Typically, the patient is an elderly person, immunocompromised, lying on the bed in a comatose and stuporous state with a high-grade fever, is a typical patient. And the EEG will help you to identify that he is having encephalitis due to HSV. How? Is basically by this characteristic periodic lateralizing discharges like this. Then those who had measles at a later point of their life will develop a sclerosing panencephalitis. There is a sclerosis throughout the brain and it is subacute, not acute, but it is a late complication. आज measles आ गए तो next day वो नहीं आएगा कुछ दिनों के बाद. So how do you identify that? Typically due to this panencephalitis which is sclerosing, they develop myoclonic jerks. That's how you identify. And whenever they have a myoclonic jerk, how will they suppose he is sitting on the breakfast table? Myoclonic jerk hai to, he will say like this. They are called salam spells. Just like we do salam, salam spells they are called as. So they are typical of subacute sclerosing panencephalitis. How do you identify that? Typically if you do an EEG, periodic बीच में high voltage 4 to 15 seconds separated spikes will be there, which is typical of the myoclonic jerks. On sclerosing panencephalitis is what you need to identify. Then what do you have in Creutzfeldt-Jakob syndrome? Very classical EEG finding. What do you have? There are myoclonic jerks in these people also. There will be sharp waves of 1.5 to 2 per second, and they are called biphasic, triphasic waves. Typically, in case of Creutzfeldt-Jakob, this kind of EEG pattern is what you have in Creutzfeldt-Jakob. Then somebody has an hepatic encephalopathy or You have somebody came in poisoning and you are able to lately intubate, he suffered already some hypoxic brain damage. Then what do you come across in them? You have this kind of triphasic waves, which is very classical, is what you need to understand. And if somebody has a subarachnoid hemorrhage, what is the EEG pattern? There is a diffuse slowing of the EEG. EEG बहुत slowly चलते रहता. That's how you have. Then in uremia, what do you have? There is something called alpha waves, beta waves, theta waves, delta waves. We will discuss that in physiology in more detail. So, continuous theta and beta activity appearing is a very classical feature in case of the uremic EEG. This is once more SSPE, which we already discussed. This in Creutzfeldt-Jakob. Now, the next question. Onion bulb changes in the nerve endings, where do we come across? Now we are going to talk about an entity called CIDP, AIDP. CIDP का मतलब chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy. अगर वो chronic है तो कोई acute होना ही पड़ेगा. उसको बोलते हैं acute inflammatory post-infectious demyelinating polyneuropathy. What is the other name for? Guillain-Barré syndrome को ही AIDP बोलते हैं. Now let us look into it. Typically, if there is a CIDP, there is a conduction block, and if you take muscle action potential, there is something called a temporal dispersion of the compound muscle action potential, prolonged latency and a slowed conduction. They are all the classical EMG findings in cases of CIDP. If you do electron microscopic evaluation, this kind of onion bulb, like formation of the myelin sheath of the nerve fibers, is a classical feature. But unlike a neuritis because of any infection, why this is happening CIDP? Directly infection is not causing it. Infection is stimulating auto antibodies, वो जाके damage कर रहे CIDP में. It is autoimmune injury stimulated by infection, not infection directly causing the nerve damage. So there will be little inflammation with onion bulb changes, with recurrent demyelination and remyelination, which is the underlying pathogenesis of CIDP. And it presents with a chronically progressive or relapsing symmetric sensorimotor disorder. Basically, polyneuropathies are divided into purely sensory polyneuropathy, motor neuropathy like in lead poisoning, sensory motor neuropathy, both sensory and motor. And there is a albuminocytological dissociation. मतलब क्या है? For this much rise of the albumin, you expect this much rise of the cells. But if it doesn't happen, albumin बहुत है मगर cells कम हैं, you basically consider albuminocytological dissociation. And if it occurs acutely, you call it as Guillain-Barré, otherwise you call it as CIDP. And another difference is, if it is CIDP, if you give steroid, it will respond, but GBS does not respond that dramatically to the steroid administration, is what you need to understand. Now, what is the most common tumor that can metastasize outside the brain? Now we are going to talk a little bit about most common at different stages of tumors. Brain tumors is all topic about most commons. Medulloblastoma like this is the childhood brain tumor that commonly metastasizes extraneuronally outside the brain. Through CSF it can cause drop metastasis and go out of the CNS. CNS is like a jail. Jailbreak is possible for medulloblastoma. Medulloblastoma is also called PNET, primary neuroectodermal tumor, mainly seen in childhood, and it is the most common primary tumor, brain tumor in the pediatric population. It is located infratentorally. You know that there is a tentorium cerebri, uske upar, supra, niche, infra. Very common site is in the cerebellum, that is in the vermis. And in the adults it is the lateral cerebellum. There is a difference between the two. Why? Vermis is important for our truncal balance. Agar vermis involve ho gaya to we get the truncal ataxia. And some parts of the cerebellum decide the tone. So which parts decide what? I think you already had a adequate discussion. Mainly it is the surgery followed by radiation. And medulloblastoma is moderately radiosensitive is what you need to appreciate. Now if you look at the various tumors, less than 1 are all supratentorial, 1 to 10 are infratentorial, more than 10 are once more supratentorial. And it is the astrocytoma common, more than 10, less than 1 is commonly the choroid plexus tumors, and 1 to 10 is generally medulloblastoma. And this is how a typical choroid plexus tumor, you should not forget, less than 1 year is it's a very common tumor. And overall, if you take adults, the most common brain tumor, primary brain tumor, primary ka matlab which is not metastatic, is glioblastoma multiforme, which is one of the forms of astrocytoma, glioma. Astrocytoma and glioma are same, be very sure. Usme very bad fellow is glioblastoma multiforme. And most malignant primary brain tumor is also once more glioblastoma multiforme, is what you need to remember. So that is the reason a elderly person, excellent poet, पूरा बचपन में पोएट्री लिखते हुए स्मोक कर रहे थे, because smoke is an inspiration. Ultimately, one day he found headache, unable to write, slowly lost control, became unconscious, brought. What did you discover in his brain? Glioblastoma multiforme. Smoking is one of the common risk factors. Chang staging, where do you see? In Chinese MD entrance. So now the question comes. Different staging system, different tumors, you need to know the game. So partially entrance is a game of knowledge, logic, reasoning, clinical experience, वो सब one side. बट्टी मारना, याद रखना, and meditation, that focused approach, personality assessment, they're all the other part. If you say, arre, nakko baba, I can't read this rapid sand filter, sanitary latrine, different types, insecticide classification, you are gone, doctor. You are no more in the game. Those things you should read with passion. And renal tubular acidosis also you should read with passion. That is important. There should not be any hatred or too much attachment and love for anything. Typical Bhagavad Gita. Now comes the Chang staging system. Where do you have? You have it in medulloblastoma. Use this. It is the size and invasiveness of the primary tumor, and once it goes beyond posterior foci, you call it as M stage or metastatic stage. But don't remember all this. This is not required. Just if you know Chang and the medulloblastoma, bahut badhiya baat hai. You remember, who likes Jackie Chang movies? Children. Children will have medulloblastoma, whichever. Then Anner-Bohr system. I'll just quickly take you to a round of oncology staging. Lymphomas. Diaphragm ke upar ya niche. Both sides of the body or only one side of the body. So that's how you divide lymphomas into. Then where do you use Duke staging? Already colon cancer liver ko chale gaye, ya colon mein hi reh gaye, colon mein kitna reh gaye, did it involve the mucosa or muscularis, that is Duke's. Then how deep is your black spot? Is melanoma. Clark and Breslow are the diggers. They believe more deep it is, more severe it is. Horizontal spread is not important. Depth is important for them. Then mesothelioma, how it progressed, you call it as Butcher's staging system. Then child pukes, you know, liver cirrhosis ka classification mein banana, B for bilirubin, A for ascites, N for neurological status, that is encephalopathy. Another A is albumin. So Child's classification. Then Dury-Salmon staging is used in multiple myeloma, because in multiple myeloma, what is the most important prognostic factor? Beta 2 microglobulin levels. So that is very important. Then neuroblastoma, we use Evans staging, whether liver is involved, metastasis is there or not. And also International Prognostication Scoring System, IPSS, is another system which is also used for the neuroblastoma. Then French American British classification system, FAB, where do we use? We use in the myelodysplastic syndromes where ringed sideroblasts are there, or ringed sideroblast with erythroblastic transformation is there, or chronic myelomonocytic leukemia, leukemic cells are there. Based on all that story we call FAB classification. Then where do we use Gleason system? You all know, prostatic tumors may. Small uniform glands, infiltration of the glands to the margins, etc., are the poorly differentiated to well differentiated. We use the Robson staging system in renal cell carcinoma. Then where do we use Rice classification in case of Hodgkin's disease? I think all this can be developed like a flashcards on a tablet Android device. Tuck, you can review while traveling. I'm asking a programmer to, he's in the process of developing a, what you call, a Android application. Even on a phone or a tablet device, we can host 5,000 things to carry with you to the exam hall. That's the idea. Like Suprabhatam, you start tuck, last moment mein, revision ke liye, but now you enjoy the luxury. Last moment preparation is only in the month of November, October, November. Now luxuriously study, go to movies, enjoy, celebrate after every subject is over. Over means over. एक टाइम टेबल रहना, पढ़ो या ना पढ़ो, हफ्ते होने के बाद मूवी तो देखना ही पड़ेगा. You need to watch a movie, celebrate with the friends, because that week is over. Like Mother's Day, Father's Day, SPM Day, Psychiatry Day. One day हो जाना. अगर पढ़ो या नहीं पढ़ो is not important. Be very sure, doctor. Finally, 27 or 28 or 30 weeks is over. The bells are ringing with a notification. So that you should be sure. Where do you have dissociate sensory loss? What is meant by dissociate sensory loss? Pain and temperature are involved. Dorsal column ka vibration and touch are not involved. Why it is like that? If you take the cut section of spinal cord, typically your Andrehorn cells are here, and your pyramidal tract is here, and your pain and temperature pathways are typically located here, and पीछे are the posterior columns. अगर central canal dilate हो गया, then what will happen? Your pain and temperature fibers are crossing to the other side, decussating. So they become compressed by this central canal dilatation. So if you look at the central canal and the relationship with the various fibers, these are typically the dorsal column fibers, whereas your pain and temperature carrying fibers are what is labeled here as A and B, and whenever it dilates, they become involved and pain and temperature sensation is gone. Now, how will a patient's wife will be telling you? Doctor, my husband is a very romantic cigar smoker, but of late there are cigar scars on his chest, and I am putting hot water for him in the toilet, but while taking bath he is unable to perceive it, hot and cold. That's a typical presentation with which they come, because whenever there is a syringomyelia and dilatation of the central canal and the temperature pain fibers are affected, in the cape distribution there is a loss of pain and temperature. So while having cigar, by chance if it touches the thoracic area, he won't identify. So there will be a lot of scars. Don't put it as a marital abuse, but rather possible syringomyelia with the loss of the pain and temperature. So now, What are the various causes? Syringomyelia, any intramedullary spinal cord tumor also can lead to development of the central cord, this kind of a dissociate sensory loss. 21-year-old with mild bilateral ptosis, proximal muscle weakness, easy fatigability, then what is the most likely way that you can diagnose him? Favorite question, it is a case of myasthenia gravis, how do you want to do? So, now, in this question we are going to debate favorite issue for the examiner. What are the different tests, what is their sensitivity specificity to the diagnosis of myasthenia, you should know. First, what are the tests, what are the abnormality found in the test, and then what is the sensitivity specificity. That is, there are the three issues. So, repetitive nerve stimulation, what will you do in this? In this, you will be constantly stimulating at a rate of 3 per second, and you will be looking how is the amplitude. Normal muscle may, the amplitude of with every stimulation will be of the same level. But in a myasthenic muscle may slowly the amplitude of that muscle action potential will be coming down, which is classical of myasthenia. So you will be applying 2 to 5 hertz frequency and measure the muscle action potential, and a decrement of more than 10% in the height of the amplitude of that action potential between the first wave and the fifth wave is diagnostic of a decremental conduction, which is seen in the case of the myasthenia gravis, is what need to be remembered. Then single fiber electromyography. This is very sensitive but very technically difficult. And if it is abnormal, it is confirmatory. And what do you discover in this? Very simple. Nerve connects with muscle and muscle का एक fiber को लेके उनका action potential को check कर रहे हैं. Then with the successive discharge at the neuromuscular junction, if you are stimulating the nerve continuously, what is problem in the case of the myasthenia gravis? There are antibodies against the postsynaptic receptors. Receptors बहुत कम हैं. Continuous discharge करने के बाद the few receptors which are there, they are already occupied. They are already occupied. So that is the reason the muscle fibers stop getting stimulated with the successive discharges. And that block in the muscle fiber firing with the serial nerve fiber firing is basically tested in the single fiber electromyography, is what you have to basically appreciate. So doctor, this is important. Nerve's action potential will cause the release of the acetylcholine, which will depolarize the muscle, and muscle action potential is stimulated, and that will spread the muscle action potential, which will lead to muscle contraction. This is the normal sequence. यहाँ कहाँ है ब्लॉक? एसिटाइलकोलिन रिलीज में ब्लॉक नहीं है. एसिटाइलकोलिन जाके रिसेप्टर से अटैच होकर डिपोलराइजेशन होने में प्रॉब्लम है in myasthenia gravis. So you can see that these three places, the repeated nerve stimulation is not causing a muscle potential. Muscle's action potential is blocked, which is basically demonstrated. Then comes the edrophonium test. Before edrophonium, there is a ptosis, muscle weakness. After giving edrophonium and neostigmine, there is an improvement in the strength. What is edrophonium fundamentally doing, doctor? It is a cholinesterase inhibitor. Cholinesterase नहीं है तो acetylcholine का degradation नहीं होगा. अगर नहीं हुए तो synaptic cleft में amount of acetylcholine will increase. So even if the receptors are little, this increased acetylcholine will go in, bind with them and improve the muscle power, muscle strength. So that is the idea. It is highly sensitive, especially if the myasthenia gravis is only ocular, it is 85% sensitive. Sometimes only you have a limited ocular myasthenia. Whole body is not affected. If it is whole body, then 95% sensitivity is there for the edrophonium test. You can also assess the acetylcholinesterase receptor antibody levels also, but the sensitivity is very low, only 50% is the sensitivity. So that's the reason, doctor, you must know what is sensitivity, specificity, why do we do that? Now, once more, thunderclap headache with third cranial nerve palsy. Straight away you will answer it as aneurysmal subarachnoid hemorrhage. Now an adolescent female has a headache. Along with that there is a tinnitus, vertigo, hearing loss, and there is a history of similar complaints. Amma also is having that. Mother is also having. Then what is the most likely possibility of such a family history? Typically it is the basilar migraine. Basilar migraine, where the visual cortex and brain stem will suffer an ischemic insult due to the basilar arteries insufficiency, and that lead to a migraine-like presentation. There will be aura, which will be typically preceding it, and it mimics just like a ischemic stroke of the brain stem. And the aura will be lasting, this kind of an aura will be lasting for 10 to 45 minutes, and there will be visual symptoms in both temporal nasal fields with dysarthria and vertigo. Why dysarthria? Because cerebral cortical areas are associated with the speech, and vertigo because brainstem you are having vestibulocochlear nucleus. So if the brainstem suffers ischemia, then vertigo will also be the presenting feature. Tinnitus, double vision, ataxia, paresthesia, decreased level of consciousness, all of them are the presenting features. So this is how typically a scotoma, which is seen in the case of the migraine, looks like. The area of non-visibility, blindness, blind spot. Then this is a typical depiction of a scotoma which is enlarging in a migrainous aura patient. And this is a typical fortification spectra which the patient can have if he is having the migraine. And this is a fully intense fortification spectra the patient will have when he is having migraine. And there can be visual distortion of the objects which can occur, which is called Alice in Wonderland syndrome, which can be seen in case of these patients. And there will be a severe throbbing occipital headache which will be supervening, is what you need to identify. So headache is the biggest headache to diagnose, doctor. You should know how is the distribution. You should not fire a false alarm. Headache hai, MRI karo, एक काम हो जाएगा. किसका काम हो जाएगा? डॉक्टर का काम हो जाएगा, क्योंकि 3,000 or 4,000 rupees cut will come. So the patient will be going, sitting inside that. Have you undergone MRI? It's not an easy job. Ting ting tang 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 tang, like a Buddhist temple, you'll be having continuous sounds. You should be ready to bear all that inside a claustrophobic chamber. Then finally patient will come and then will get a MRI. MRI report says normal. Please clinically correlate. So, but finally you will also say it's normal. Patients, it's the happiest news. So be very sure, doctor. But by mistake, if in that MRI some aneurysm comes out, which has nothing to do with this headache, because it is sinusitis leading to headache, then the story becomes much worsened. So that's the reason clinical neurology always must take the highest place, and then all investigations are only to substantiate. So doctor, sinus pain, typically location of sinuses. Cluster headache is in and around the eye, periorbital. Tension headache we all suffer at the time of exams, is like a band squeezing the head. Then migraine may pain, nausea and visual changes typically seen in the case of the classic form. That's how you identify. What is Beaver sign? So basically when you ask the patient to flex his neck, then the umbilicus will be moving in upward direction because of the weakness of the lower abdominal muscles, And why does it happen? Because lower abdominal muscles are basically supplied by T6 to T10. Any injury to of the T6 to T10 will lead to development of the upward migration of the umbilicus when the patient is trying to flex forward. Now a 56-year-old female with severe headache, once more, AIIMS made 2009. Neck stiffness of abrupt onset, she never had this kind of a pain before. Immediately what is your answer? Subarachnoid hemorrhage. Now comes the next topic, prion disease. Basically they are prions are abnormally shaped proteins which are causing the destruction of the brain. If you do biopsy, you can identify. And they typically will have myoclonus in 90% of patients. And what are absent before you consider prion disease? There should not be fever. So fever hai, encephalitis hai, and you are saying maybe prion disease, there is no treatment for it, that's wrong. So you must know what is the exclusion criteria for every disease in neurology. Fever should not be there, high ESR should not be there, leukocytosis should not be there, and CSF pleocytosis should not be there. If they are there, it is more likely to be infectious in nature. And prion diseases are not infectious in nature, as all of you know very well. And if you do brain biopsy, you can demonstrate these abnormal proteins called PRPSC on the biopsy of the CNS tissue. Now what are the causes of subcortical dementia? We may forget because of two reasons. Brain forgot or brain's juniors forgot. If the dementia is occurring because of cerebral cortical level, you call it as cortical dementia. If our memory is also dependent on the centers located below the cortex, in the basal ganglia, amygdala, limbic system and all, then it becomes subcortical. One of the favorite questions of the examiner is, how do you differentiate cortical from subcortical dementia and what are the causes? In this case, there is no big deal. Parkinsonism is subcortical or cortical? Basal ganglia bole to below cortex only. Hai na? Then progressive supranuclear palsy also is a problem to do with Parkinsonism, basal ganglia. And HIV encephalopathy is also a cause for the subcortical dementia. Whereas Alzheimer's is frontal, temporal lobe, parietal lobe, pura lobe chale gaye. Hence it is a cortical dementia. So the three common reasons for the development of the subcortical dementia you should not forget. Huntington's disease, Parkinsonism and PSP. And what is common to all the three? All the three are movement disorders. Naturally, if basal ganglia is involved, movement disorders hona hi padega na. Kyunki basal ganglia are important along with the cerebellum for deciding our movement, motor activity. Brain only plans. Brain only bolega, हम अमेरिका जाएंगे, रशिया पैदल जाएंगे, स्नो में रनिंग करेंगे. देन सेरिबेलम बोलेगा, हुजूर बाहर की तापमान -40 डिग्रीज है, आप इस उबर में आइस में स्विमिंग नहीं कर सकते, घर में बैठो बोलेगा. No, cerebral cortex say, I see very wonderful romantic weather outside. So basal ganglia and cerebellum, what will they do? They will fine tune the motor plan is what you need to understand. The neuropsychological defects, if the right lobe is involved, what kind of problems you will have if the right lobe of the brain, right hemisphere is involved? Earlier they used to use a word called dominant, non-dominant. राइट हैंडर में लेफ्ट हेमिस्फीयर इज डोमिनेंट. इसका मतलब क्या है? उसको राइट ब्रेन ही नहीं है. मतलब राइट एंड लेफ्ट आर बोथ इक्वली वॉल्यूमिनस. नो, वन इज नॉट बिग, अदर इज नॉट स्मॉल. एंड खाली बात करने से बड़े वी डोंट बिकम ग्रेट पीपल. म्यूजिशियन होने की वजह से भी ग्रेट हो सकते, ड्राइंग करने से भी ग्रेट हो सकते. सो हाउ कैन यू से जस्ट बिकॉज स्पीच इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन दी left hemisphere, left as dominant, ये निकाल दो बोले. They remove the terminology. Every year कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा ना, International Neurology Society. So, but But though they removed the terminology, you should remember that dominant calm speech. So the word is not used anymore. So language function in right-hander is by the left hemisphere because Wernicke and Bocas, both of them related to language, are there in the left hemisphere. Similarly, our detailed analytical abilities, what is the meaning of it? मुझे 100 मार्क्स आ गए तो इसको कितना आ सकता? इसको तो मुझे 100 आ गए तो उनको तो 50 ही आना पड़ेगा. कैसे उससे ज्यादा आएगा? So we keep calculating others. That is due to our dominant hemisphere. Complex motor planning. मतलब नक्कल करने में ज्यादा अक्ल होना. So keep somewhere underneath the finest chip, go to the exam hall and then answer the questions. Complex motor planning is all by the dominant hemisphere. Then what will right hemisphere will be doing? Non-verbal functions. That is the visuospatial skills and the music perception. Some of our classmates will be very talkative. अगर इनको room को गए तो on one side something will be hanging, on other side something, because he doesn't know how to arrange his room also. Visuospatial functions are less, but he is a very talkative. He talks about neurology, psychology, everything. So, but other classmate is very, very clean, tidy, neat room, looks like a glass chamber, but he doesn't know that inferior olivary nucleus is in the botany, because olives are known in botany also, or is it in neurology? So, be very sure that those who are very, very, very clean and tidy does not mean they are highly intellectuals. They may be missing the basic verbal skills. Then music perception. Those who sing cannot talk. Those who talk may not be able to sing, except few mimicry artists. Now, the spatio-temporal relations are the domain of the non-dominant hemisphere is what you need to basically identify. Now, one more important thing is, if you are given a musical theme, you identify what it is. Those who talk very well fail in that game. Kyunki the musical theme is a function of non-dominant hemisphere, whereas talking is a feature of dominant hemisphere. And also in recognizing the faces, I still fail to recognize when I watch the Hollywood movies, is this fellow was the hero or the villain? Because both look similar to me, because both are Americans only, and that's the reason I keep asking the other people, batao, next story mein, did this fellow abducted or that fellow abducted? Especially you see the, what you call, Hollywood, what movies they are called? 007 movies mein. There is always a confusion between different faces. So because recognition of faces is a non-dominant cut zone. Now, abnormal folding of proteins, where do we see? Easiest question. Prion disease, amyloidosis, Creutzfeldt-Jakob, but not in multiple sclerosis. Yahan tak aane ke baad, still if you think multiple sclerosis, then we have not read neurology. Now with regard to the progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy, let's be very sure about this topic, doctor. There is one virus called JC virus, polyoma JC virus. It is present in everybody. But if you are immunocompromised, then the JC virus will lead to the development of a destruction of the brain in the form of demyelination of a wide area of the brain, progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy. Leuko is white matter. The broadly diseases are divided into white matter diseases, grey matter diseases, and involving both. So it typically involves the white matter. But the mortality is very high. And why this progressive multifocal leukoencephalopathy, encephalopathy of JC virus became very important in the recent times? Because of HIV. HIV, immunosuppressed people. Similarly, organ transplantation we are doing more commonly and immunosuppressing the people. So all these immunosuppressed people are vulnerable for this, and if this multifocal leukoencephalopathy How do you identify? There will be in the white matter में पूरा wash out हो जाएगा because the destructive activity of the JC virus. The prognosis is only 6 months. 80% will die.